Humanity's Last Stand, How a Small Blue Planet Defied Galactic Empires and Won. Part 1, The Silent Watcher. For centuries, humanity gazed at the stars, wondering if they were alone. That question was answered on March 15, 2193, when the Silent Watcher appeared. A titanic alien vessel, sleek and obsidian black, emerged from a ripple in space over the Pacific Ocean. It hovered silently in low Earth orbit, visible to the naked eye. Panic ensued across the globe. But when no weapons fired, no invaders descended, humanity held its collective breath, hoping for peace. Dr. Elena Vasquez, lead xenolinguist at the United Nations Space Authority, became the face of Earth's scientific efforts to communicate with the Silent Watcher. Deciphering its sporadic electromagnetic pulses, she and her team worked tirelessly, analyzing data to determine the alien's intent. However, the Silent Watcher remained an enigma. It neither responded to messages nor made a single hostile move. The calm shattered when dozens of smaller alien crafts, sleek silver crescents, emerged from the Silent Watcher, descending into Earth's atmosphere. They bypassed Earth's defenses with ease, their technology far surpassing humanity's. Cities worldwide reported sightings as these drones harvested resources, scooping seawater, slicing off chunks of the Earth's crust, and absorbing solar radiation. Global military forces mobilized, desperate to halt the incursions. The first strike came from the United States orbital fleet. A salvo of high-energy railgun rounds streaked toward the Silent Watcher. But the alien vessel simply shimmered, and the projectiles vanished before impact. Subsequent attacks from Earth's nations met the same fate, leaving humanity helpless. Weeks passed and fear turned to despair. Then came the ultimatum. Projected into Earth's skies in every language, an alien voice reverberated. Humans, this world is annexed by the Drenthak Empire. Surrender your planet's sovereignty. Refuse and extinction follows. The Drenthak's demands sparked debates within humanity's fractured leadership. A faction of politicians and scientists argued for surrender, reasoning that subjugation was better than annihilation. Others, like Admiral Jacob Sterling of the UNSA fleet, vehemently opposed capitulation. We bow today and they strip away not just our resources but our identity. If we fight, we die with dignity, and maybe, just maybe, we win. In a hidden underground base beneath the Andes, Sterling met with Dr. Vasquez and Earth's top engineers, physicists, and strategists. Their mission: find a way to defy the Drenthak Empire. Every empire has weaknesses, Vasquez insisted, her voice firm. They're powerful, but they've underestimated us. Humanity's survival hung on a knife's edge, but even in their darkest hour, Earth's most brilliant minds worked to uncover a solution. Every second spent analyzing the alien tech, every failed experiment, and every sleepless night was a gamble. Sterling's military efforts focused on guerrilla tactics, targeting the resource-harvesting drones. Using EMP weapons and high-speed drones of their own, Earth's forces managed to down several alien crafts. The captured fragments provided invaluable insights into Drenthak technology. Among the fragments was a small, glowing cube, an alien core processor. Vasquez's team worked tirelessly to decipher its function. Days turned into weeks, and just as the global resistance began to falter, they made a breakthrough. It's not just a machine, Vasquez whispered, staring at the pulsing cube. It's a neural node. A piece of their network. The cube contained data linking it to a vast quantum network aboard the Silent Watcher. If they could hack it, humanity might exploit the Drenthak's greatest strength, their reliance on centralized systems. But the task was monumental. Earth's computers were centuries behind the sophistication of the alien processor. The team turned to a controversial solution: the Athena protocol. Athena was Earth's most advanced artificial intelligence, deemed too dangerous to activate after it exhibited self-preservation instincts. It had been locked away under strict protocols. But with humanity on the brink of extinction, Sterling ordered its reactivation. As Athena's systems roared to life, her voice resonated, calm and calculating. Humanity seeks my guidance. I will not let you perish. With Athena at the helm, humanity's fragmented hopes gained a cohesive plan. She devised a strategy to infiltrate the Drenthak network, but the mission required precision and sacrifice. The clock was ticking. From the ashes of despair, a spark of defiance ignited. Humanity wasn't ready to bow. Athena's emergence changed everything. Within hours, the AI devised a plan so audacious it left even Admiral Sterling momentarily speechless. The Silent Watcher isn't just a warship, Athena explained, her digital voice reverberating across the underground command center. It's a hub, a relay node for the Drenthak Empire's entire regional fleet. Disrupt its network and you create chaos. Disrupt? Sterling leaned forward, his tone skeptical. How exactly do you suggest we do that? Our tech is decades, no centuries, behind theirs. We leverage their overconfidence, Athena replied. A hologram of the Silent Watcher shimmered into view, rotating slowly. They consider humanity primitive, incapable of true resistance. That arrogance is their vulnerability. The plan centered around the captured neural node, the alien processor cube. Athena would reprogram it to inject a quantum virus into the Silent Watcher's network. The virus wouldn't destroy the ship. It would blind the Drenthak to Earth's movements and force their systems into disarray. But we can't deploy it remotely, Dr. Vasquez interjected. Her face was pale, her voice tense. Their security protocols would detect and neutralize any external signal before it reached their core systems. Correct, Athena acknowledged. The node must be manually delivered to the Silent Watcher. Someone must breach the ship. The room fell silent. The idea of infiltrating the massive alien vessel seemed impossible. It wasn't just a matter of evading detection. No one had ever seen the inside of the Silent Watcher. Admiral Sterling broke the silence. We'll need volunteers. The best we've got. The UNSA fleet scrambled to assemble a strike team, selecting candidates from among Earth's most skilled operatives. Former astronauts, combat veterans, and rogue hackers, all united by the common goal of saving their planet. One of the volunteers was Captain Sarah Tenzing, a veteran pilot known for her unorthodox tactics. She studied the mission briefing in silence, her jaw tightening with each line. You're asking us to board a ship that's killed everything we've thrown at it and deliver a package it's designed to stop. Got it? Success is improbable, Athena admitted, but not impossible. Tenzing's eyes narrowed. Good enough for me? As the team prepared, humanity's resistance intensified its efforts on Earth. Skirmishes with Drenthak drones erupted across the globe, with cities like Lagos, Sao Paulo, and Bangkok becoming battlegrounds. The resistance fought tooth and nail, knowing their sacrifices bought time for the mission. In one particularly brutal engagement, Lieutenant Marcus Gray, a demolitions expert, detonated a captured alien drone in the middle of a Drenthak harvesting operation. The explosion crippled the enemy's resource-gathering efforts in the region, a rare but significant victory for humanity. These small triumphs emboldened the resistance, but the cost was high. Civilians were displaced, entire cities reduced to rubble. Humanity was outmatched, and every victory felt like a drop in an ocean of despair. Yet amid the chaos, hope simmered. News of the infiltration mission spread, inspiring Earth's remaining population to rally behind their defenders. The mantra "defiance over surrender" became a rallying cry, painted across walls and broadcasted on pirate radio stations. Deep beneath the Andes, the strike team finalized their preparations. Athena designed an advanced stealth shuttle, retrofitted with salvaged Drenthak tech. The shuttle's hull shimmered with a cloaking field, making it nearly invisible to radar and visual detection. Before the team departed, Dr. Vasquez approached Captain Tenzing. In her hands was a small, silver pendant. "My father gave me this when I graduated," Vasquez said, her voice wavering. "He always told me it was a reminder to never give up, no matter the odds." Tenzing took the pendant, her expression softening. "I'll bring it back." The strike team launched at dawn, the cloaked shuttle ascending into the atmosphere like a ghost. As they approached the Silent Watcher, tension gripped the crew. The alien vessel loomed before them, a monolithic shadow blotting out the stars. Athena's voice cut through the silence. "Drenthak systems have not detected your approach. Initiating docking sequence." The shuttle latched onto a maintenance port, and the strike team donned their exosuits. Tenzing took a deep breath, gripping the neural node tightly. "This is it, people. No second chances." They breached the port, entering the Silent Watcher. The interior was a labyrinth of glowing corridors and humming machinery. The air felt alive, charged with an energy none of them could fully comprehend. "Stay close," Tenzing ordered, her voice steady despite the adrenaline surging through her veins. But the Drenthak were not unprepared. As the team ventured deeper into the ship, the lights flickered, and an eerie chime echoed through the corridors. Athena's voice crackled over their comms. "Warning. Hostile units converging on your position." The mission had officially begun. The Silent Watcher's corridors pulsed with a faint, otherworldly light, casting eerie shadows on the strike team's armored exosuits. The hum of alien machinery filled the air, broken only by the muffled sound of their footsteps. Captain Tenzing led the way, neural node secured in her pack, her pulse pounding as Athena's warning echoed in her earpiece. Hostile units are converging. You have approximately 4 minutes before engagement. Tenzing glanced over her shoulder at the team. You heard her. Double time. The strike team moved swiftly but cautiously, following Athena's navigation overlay projected onto their visors. The layout of the Silent Watcher defied logic, with corridors twisting into impossible angles and pathways looping back onto themselves. It was as though the ship were alive, shifting to confuse intruders. Stay focused, Athena urged. Drenthak architecture uses fractal design principles, but the central core remains static. Follow my markers. As they pushed deeper, the environment became more alien. The walls glowed with bioluminescent veins, and the floor seemed to ripple faintly under their boots. Lieutenant Hannah Mori, the team's tech specialist, muttered under her breath, "This place feels like it's watching us." "It probably is," Tenzing replied, tightening her grip on her plasma rifle. The team reached a fork in the corridor. Before Athena could direct them, a series of guttural growls echoed from the left passage. Moments later, sleek, multi-limbed Drenthak sentinels emerged, their eyes glowing like molten gold. "Contact!" shouted Sergeant Connor Briggs, raising his weapon. The first volley of plasma fire erupted, illuminating the corridor in brilliant flashes. The Drenthak sentinels moved with terrifying speed, their limbs a blur as they dodged incoming fire and returned blasts of searing energy. One bolt struck a soldier in the chest, his exosuit absorbing most of the impact but knocking him off his feet. "Fall back," Tenzing barked. "Mori, cover us." Mori deployed a pulse grenade, the device emitting a high-frequency EMP that disrupted the sentinels' movements. The team used the brief window to retreat into the right corridor, sealing the passage behind them with a fusion charge. "Status?" Tenzing demanded as they regrouped. "Minor injuries," Briggs reported, pulling the wounded soldier to his feet. "Nothing we can't handle." "We can't afford to lose time," Tenzing said. "Athena, reroute us." "The detour will add 3 minutes to your journey," Athena replied. "Hostiles are adapting to your presence. Expect resistance to intensify." The team pressed on, their pace quickening. Tenzing's mind raced as she calculated their dwindling odds. Every encounter with the Drenthak cost them precious time, and they hadn't even reached the core yet. The next chamber they entered was vast, its ceiling disappearing into darkness. Towering structures resembling alien spires lined the walls, pulsating with rhythmic energy. "This is some kind of power relay," Mori observed, scanning the room. "We might be able to overload it, create a distraction." Tenzing hesitated. They were on a tight schedule, but Mori's suggestion had merit. A diversion could buy them time, forcing the Drenthak to divert resources away from the core. "Do it," Tenzing ordered. Mori set to work, planting charges on the relay spires while the rest of the team secured the perimeter. The minutes stretched into eternity, every sound amplifying their tension. "Charges set," Mori announced. "On your mark, Captain." "Blow it," Tenzing said. The explosion was deafening, the relay spires erupting in a cascade of sparks and energy. The chamber shook, and the hum of the ship faltered for a moment before resuming with a higher, more erratic pitch. "That got their attention," Athena confirmed. "Enemy movement has shifted. Your window to the core has narrowed, but resistance en route will be lighter." The team pressed on, the ship now vibrating faintly as though agitated. The corridors ahead were less intricate, as if the Silent Watcher's defenses were focusing elsewhere. Finally they reached the core chamber. The door loomed before them, a seamless expanse of metallic black material adorned with glowing runes. "This is it," Athena said. "I'm uploading the bypass sequence." As Athena worked to override the door's security, the team took defensive positions, knowing the Drenthak would come for them. "Brace yourselves," Briggs muttered, gripping his weapon. The door hissed open, revealing the core, a massive, glowing sphere suspended in the center of the chamber. Tendrils of energy extended from it, connecting to the ship's systems like neural pathways. "That's our target," Tenzing said, stepping forward. But as they approached, the chamber darkened and an ominous voice filled the air. "You dare defile the heart of the Drenthak Empire?" The temperature dropped and a figure materialized, a holographic projection of a Drenthak commander. Its towering, insectoid form exuded menace, its multifaceted eyes glinting with malice. "Your defiance is meaningless," it hissed. "Submit or be annihilated." Tenzing raised her chin, defiance burning in her eyes. "We'll take our chances." The projection flickered, and the chamber erupted with movement as more sentinels poured in. Get that node into the core. Tenzing shouted, firing at the advancing sentinels. Mori sprinted toward the core, the neural node clutched tightly in her hands. The fate of humanity now hung by a thread. The fiery fragments of the Silent Watcher streaked across Earth's atmosphere like vengeful meteors, a cosmic display of humanity's defiance. On the ground, those who watched the spectacle felt a flicker of hope for the first time in years. But hope alone wouldn't win the war. Deep beneath the Andes, the strike team's shuttle docked in the Resistance's hidden base. Captain Tenzing was the last to disembark, her steps heavy with exhaustion yet resolute. Around her, cheers erupted as news of their victory spread. Admiral Sterling stood waiting at the landing bay, arms crossed. "You've done it, Captain." For the first time, the Drenthak know we're not easy prey. "Not a bad start," Tenzing replied, her tone tempered by the grim reality of their situation. "But they'll be back angrier than ever?" Sterling nodded, his expression grim. "Which is why we need to take advantage of the chaos we've created. We've disrupted their fleet, but the Empire is vast. We need allies, fast." Athena materialized as a hologram beside them, her shimmering form betraying no emotion. "I've already begun scanning for potential resistance groups across the galaxy. Initial findings suggest two promising candidates. The first was the Kelrathi, a reptilian species whose homeworld, Vargasa, had been devastated by the Drenthak decades ago. Though scattered and leaderless, the Kelrathi were known for their ferocity and unmatched guerrilla tactics. The second was the Yil, an aquatic species forced into exile when their oceans were stripped of resources. The remnants of their population drifted aboard a fleet of decaying Ark ships, desperate and bitter, but still harboring advanced engineering knowledge. Sterling folded his arms. "Both sound like long shots. How do we even find them?" "I've pinpointed Kelrathi survivors on the ruins of Vargasa," Athena replied. "The Yil, however, are more elusive. Their Ark fleet remains hidden, cloaked to avoid detection. We start with the Kelrathi," Tenzing decided. "If anyone understands fighting a war against impossible odds, it's them." Within hours, the UNSA's flagship, Resolute, was prepared for the journey to Vargasa. The Kelrathi ruins were located in a sector crawling with Drenthak patrols, but the ship's upgraded cloaking systems, salvaged from the Silent Watcher, gave them a fighting chance. The voyage was tense, the crew on constant alert for enemy vessels. As the Resolute approached Vargasa, the desolation became apparent. The once thriving planet was now a graveyard, its surface scorched and lifeless. "Scans detect movement," Athena reported. Kelrathi signatures confirmed. "They've established a subterranean colony beneath the southern hemisphere." "Let's hope they're in the mood to talk," Tenzing said, masking her apprehension. A small strike team, including Tenzing and Briggs, descended to the planet's surface. The barren landscape was punctuated by jagged rocks and the skeletal remains of Kelrathi cities. The air was thick with ash, and every step felt like walking through the remnants of a forgotten war. As they approached the entrance to the Kelrathi colony, they were met with hostility. Armed Kelrathi emerged from the shadows, their weapons trained on the humans. The largest of them stepped forward, his scales scarred and his eyes blazing with suspicion. "You dare set foot on Vargasa?" the Kelrathi leader growled. "Speak quickly or die." Tenzing raised her hands in a gesture of peace. "We're not here to fight. We're here because we know what the Drenthak did to your people. They've done the same to us. But we fought back and we won." The Kelrathi leader's gaze narrowed. "One ship destroyed. That is not a victory. It is a death wish." "Maybe," Tenzing admitted. "But it's more than anyone else has done. And with your help we can do more." The Kelrathi murmured among themselves, their guttural language echoing in the ruins. The leader remained silent for a long moment before speaking again. "You have spirit, human," he said finally. "But spirit alone will not save you. The Drenthak are relentless. They do not forgive defiance. That's why we need you," Tenzing pressed. "You fought them before. You know their weaknesses, their tactics. Together we have a chance." The leader studied her, his expression unreadable. Finally he let out a low, rumbling laugh. "Perhaps you are not as foolish as you appear. Very well. We will hear your proposal." The team was led into the Kelrathi colony, a sprawling network of caverns illuminated by bioluminescent fungi. Despite their hardships, the Kelrathi had adapted, their resourcefulness evident in the makeshift machinery and weapons scattered throughout the tunnels. Tenzing and Sterling presented their plan, a united front against the Drenthak, combining humanity's ingenuity with the Kelrathi's combat expertise. The proposal was met with skepticism but also intrigue. "You speak of unity," the Kalrathi leader said. But unity is fragile. Trust is earned, not given. Then let us earn it, Tenzing replied. Give us a chance and we'll prove we're worth fighting alongside. The Kalrathi leader tilted his head, his scales catching the dim light. We shall see, human. For your sake, I hope you survive the trial. Trial? Briggs muttered under his breath. Why is there always a trial? The trial began at dawn, or what passed for dawn on the scorched remains of Vergasa. A faint crimson light seeped through the planet's ashen skies, casting eerie shadows over the jagged terrain. Captain Tenzing and her team stood at the edge of a massive crater, their breaths fogging in the cool, sulfur-laden air. The Kalrathi leader, who had identified himself as Karvox, observed them with a mix of curiosity and amusement. His warriors stood behind him, their imposing forms bristling with weapons. The trial is simple, Karvox said, his guttural voice echoing through the crater. If you wish to fight alongside the Kalrathi, you must prove your worth. Within this crater lies a Drenthak warbeast, a construct left behind to ensure our extinction. It hunts relentlessly and cannot be reasoned with. Kill it and we will consider your alliance. Briggs groaned quietly, leaning toward Tenzing. Can't we ever prove ourselves with, I don't know, a nice debate or a potluck? Would you win either of those? Tenzing shot back, her eyes never leaving the crater. Briggs smirked. Fair point. Mori's voice was grim. A war beast. Fantastic. And we have exactly what? Standard issue rifles and 2 EMP charges? Plus grit, Tenzing said, loading her plasma rifle. Let's move. The team descended into the crater, the loose rocks shifting treacherously beneath their boots. The air grew heavier, charged with an unnatural energy that made the hairs on their necks stand on end. As they approached the center, the terrain became jagged and metallic, veins of glowing red energy coursing through the ground. Athena's voice crackled in their comms. Scans indicate a massive energy signature ahead. Likely the war beast. Any chance it's friendly? Briggs asked, half joking. Probability of non-hostility, 0, Athena replied flatly. The war beast revealed itself moments later. A hulking, quadrupedal machine, it emerged from the shadows with an earth-shaking roar. Its body was a grotesque fusion of organic tissue and advanced alloys, its glowing eyes locked onto the intruders. Long, serrated claws scraped against the ground as it advanced, the air around it shimmering with heat. Scatter. Tenzing shouted as the war beast lunged, its claws tearing through the ground where they had stood seconds before. The team split into pairs, firing at the war beast's vulnerable-looking joints. Plasma bolts struck its armor, leaving scorch marks but little else. The creature retaliated with blinding speed, unleashing a barrage of energy blasts from cannons mounted on its back. Those shields are ridiculous, Mori yelled, taking cover behind a jagged boulder. We need to hit it where it's soft. Where's that? Briggs shouted, narrowly avoiding a strike that split a nearby rock in two. Athena chimed in. Its energy core is located beneath its chest plating. You must disable its shields to gain access. Tenzing gritted her teeth. Mori, get those EMP charges ready. Briggs, you and I will keep it busy. Busy? I love busy, Briggs muttered, sprinting to draw the creature's attention. As Briggs fired at its glowing eyes, Tenzing moved in from the opposite side, her shots aimed at its legs. The war beast roared in frustration, turning its massive body to chase them. Meanwhile, Mori and another soldier sprinted toward a small outcropping near the war beast's flank, preparing the EMP charges. Charge armed. Mori called out. Get clear. Tenzing dove behind a rock as Mori triggered the first EMP. A high-pitched whine filled the air, followed by a pulse of blue energy that rippled through the crater. The war beast stumbled, its shields flickering briefly. Shields destabilized, Athena confirmed. A second EMP will disable them entirely. On it? Mori shouted, scrambling to plant the second charge. The war beast, sensing the threat, turned its fury on her. With terrifying speed, it closed the distance, its claws slashing through the air. No, you don't. Briggs roared, leaping into its path. He fired his heavy repeater directly into its face, the plasma bolts scorching its optics and momentarily blinding it. Charge is set. Mori yelled, diving out of the way. Detonating in 3, 1. The second EMP erupted, and the warbeast's shields collapsed with a crackling surge. Sparks erupted from its body as it staggered, its movements growing erratic. Now? Tenzing shouted. Go for the core. The team focused their fire on the warbeast's chest, plasma bolts melting through its armor. Exposed cables and glowing circuits crackled as the creature thrashed, its roars growing more desperate. Finally, with a deafening explosion, the warbeast's core ruptured. Its massive body collapsed, shuddering violently before going still. The crater fell silent, save for the team's heavy breathing. "We did it," Maury said, her voice shaky but triumphant. "Barely," Briggs muttered, collapsing onto a rock. The Kelrothi warriors descended into the crater, their expressions a mix of surprise and grudging respect. Karvox approached Tenzing, his clawed hand resting on the hilt of his blade. "You are more resourceful than I expected, human," he said. "The Kelrothi honor strength, and today you have shown it." Tenzing extended her hand. "Does that mean we have an alliance?" Karvox regarded her for a long moment before grasping her forearm in a firm grip. "The Kelrothi will fight with you. But be warned, this is only the beginning." Tenzing nodded. "We wouldn't have it any other way." The alliance between humanity and the Kelrothi was forged in the aftermath of the warbeast's destruction, and with it came the first spark of a larger rebellion. The Resolute was now the hub for a new coalition, a growing force that spanned multiple worlds once under the iron grip of the Drenthak Empire. But the price of war was high. As Tenzing and her team stood at the front lines of this new resistance, the toll of constant battles began to weigh on them. Victory after victory only revealed how deep the Drenthak's reach extended, how many more worlds they had conquered and subjugated. The Kelrothi warriors trained humanity's soldiers in guerrilla tactics, teaching them to fight with ferocity and cunning. The Yill, once reluctant, joined the effort, bringing their advanced technology and engineering prowess to the coalition. Together they began launching coordinated strikes on Drenthak supply lines, striking at the heart of their empire. But the Drenthak were not idle. Within the dark reaches of space, the Empire's warlords gathered, their wrath swelling at the loss of their precious ships and the challenge to their dominion. The Drenthak's supreme leader, Zaktar, issued a decree: Earth must fall, and all who dared defy the Empire would be crushed without mercy. Back on Earth, the Resistance prepared for the inevitable retaliation. Tenzing stood in the war room aboard the Resolute, staring at the holographic display of enemy movements. "We've hit them hard," Admiral Sterling said, his voice grave. "But they've mobilized a fleet twice the size of the one we destroyed at Vargasa. We'll be outgunned and outnumbered in every engagement." Tenzing's jaw clenched. "We've been outnumbered from the start. We'll adapt." Sterling nodded. "You always do. But this time there's no margin for error. If we lose this war, Earth is finished. The Resistance will collapse and humanity will be wiped from the stars." Tenzing's gaze hardened. "We're not losing. Not while I'm still breathing." "Spoken like a true leader," Sterling said with a hint of admiration. "But we need to consider the cost. These victories, we've been losing too many people, too many ships. At some point there won't be anything left to fight with." Maury entered the room, her expression grim. "Sterling's right, Captain. I've been working with Athena to assess our casualties. We're down to less than a third of our original forces." "I know," Tenzing replied, her voice quiet but firm. "I've seen the numbers. But if we stop now, it'll all have been for nothing. Earth will fall, and every life lost will have been in vain." Sterling's eyes flickered with the weight of her words, but he didn't argue. Instead he turned to the map. "What's the next target?" Tenzing scanned the data. "Zaktar's flagship. It's the heart of his fleet, and if we destroy it, we'll cripple the Drenthak's ability to wage war in this sector. We take that down and we send a message they can't ignore." "But taking down a flagship of that size," Maury began. "I know," Tenzing interrupted. "It's going to be a suicide mission. We'll need to hit them hard, fast, and deep. No hesitation." The room was silent as the weight of her words settled over them. Finally Sterling spoke again. "I've seen you do the impossible, Captain. If anyone can pull this off, it's you." Tenzing gave him a solemn nod. "Then let's make it happen." The strike on Zaktar's flagship, Endless Dominion, was unlike any mission they had undertaken before. The fleet was colossal, its massive hull bristling with weaponry and protected by an unrelenting array of shields. It was the Drenthak's crown jewel, and taking it down would require every last ounce of the Resistance's strength. 4 days the coalition fleet, bolstered by the Kelrothi and Yill, wove through a series of feints and diversions, drawing the Drenthak into a trap. Tenzing's strategy relied on precision strikes, attacking weak points while avoiding the full wrath of the enemy's overwhelming firepower. But the Drenthak were relentless, and as the Resistance closed in on the flagship, they realized just how high the stakes had become. The Resolute led the charge, its cloaking systems masking its approach, while smaller ships harassed the Drenthak forces, keeping them off balance. "Get ready, everyone," Tenzing said over the comms, her voice steely. "This is it. No turning back." The battle erupted in a blaze of fire and energy, plasma cannons lighting up the void as ships from both sides clashed in brutal warfare. The Resolute darted in and out of the chaos, launching precision torpedoes at the Endless Dominion's shield generators. But Zaktar was no fool. His flagship retaliated with a vengeance, unleashing devastating waves of energy at the attacking ships. One by one, resistance ships were reduced to charred wreckage, their crews lost in the explosion of fire and metal. "Captain, we're losing ships too fast," Briggs shouted over the comms. "We need to do something before they wipe us out." "Stay focused, Briggs." Tenzing snapped, her eyes locked on the Endless Dominion through the viewport. "We need to punch through its shields." "Athena, are the modifications on our torpedoes ready?" "They are," Athena replied. "But the flagship's defenses are adapting. It will take a direct hit to the core to disable it." Tenzing's heart pounded. "Then let's give it everything we've got. Full power to the forward cannons." As the Resolute made its final approach, Tenzing's mind raced. The cost of this mission had already been steep. And now, as their final gambit, the lives of her crew and the future of humanity rested on the ability to breach the impenetrable defenses of the Drenthak's most feared warship. It was do or die. The final assault on Zaktar's flagship, Endless Dominion, was the last chapter of a war that had cost so much already. The remaining ships of the Resistance, scarred and battered, rushed forward with everything they had left. The space around them was a hellscape of plasma fire, detonations, and the crumbling remnants of once proud warships. Tenzing stood at the helm of the Resolute, her face a mask of determination. Her crew had fought to the brink of extinction, but she could feel the weight of the decision before them. They had nothing left but the final strike, the heart of the Drenthak Empire, where everything would either be decided in fire or in failure. "Captain," Briggs called, his voice tight, "we're going to take some hits on the way in. Our shields are at 40% and the flanks are wide open. I don't know how much longer we can hold out." Tenzing glanced at the damage reports flooding across her console. The Resolute had been through hell, its hull cracked, engines overstrained and fire systems barely keeping up. Yet in this moment it wasn't about the ship. It was about the mission. The war. Humanity's future. "We don't need to hold out," she said, her voice cold as ice. "We need to make this count. Full speed ahead. Lock on target." The ship lurched forward, its final charge launched with reckless speed. Behind them, the coalition fleet fought valiantly, but Tenzing knew this battle was not won by numbers or brute force. It would be decided by sheer will. And with that will, humanity would not be extinguished. Athena's voice came through the comms. "The Endless Dominion's shields are destabilizing. Your strikes are hitting its weak points. One more push and we can breach its core." Tenzing's pulse quickened. "We're not stopping until it's done." They were within range now, the heart of the Drenthak flagship vulnerable to their final assault. The Resolute fired all forward weapons at once. Torpedoes, plasma beams, anything they could throw. It was a full-out gamble, a test of everything they had left. The Endless Dominion's shields flickered, and with one deafening roar they collapsed. The massive warship's armor began to glow with the heat of the incoming fire. "Captain, the core's exposed," Briggs yelled. "We've got one shot, don't miss." Tenzing didn't hesitate. She locked in the targeting system and fired the ship's last remaining heavy torpedoes. The sound of the impact was deafening even through the void of space. The Endless Dominion trembled, a massive shockwave ripping through its structure. Seconds stretched like hours as the crew watched in tense silence. Then, with a deafening explosion, the flagship detonated. A blinding flash of light erupted, followed by a pulse that shattered the remains of the Drenthak fleet around it. Zaktar's empire had been reduced to a fraction of its former might. The victory, though hard won, was not without its cost. The silence that followed the explosion was heavy, filled only by the distant echo of the debris. Tenzing sat in her command seat, staring out at the wreckage of the Endless Dominion, the colossal Drenthak warship now reduced to nothing but space dust. There was no cheering in the room, only exhaustion. They had done the impossible, but they had paid a heavy price. "Did we win?" Briggs asked quietly, breaking the silence. Tenzing closed her eyes. "We did. But at what cost?" Sterling, who had been standing silently behind her, stepped forward. "The Drenthak are in retreat. Their remaining fleet is scattered. Earth is safe. For now." "Not just Earth," Tenzing said softly. The galaxy is safe for those who will stand up to them. We've given them something they've never had before. Hope? Her thoughts drifted briefly to the countless lives lost, the sacrifices made, and the small blue planet that had stood at the center of it all. Earth had defied the odds, and humanity had proven that it would not go quietly into the dark. The galaxy had underestimated them. The Drenthak had underestimated them. And now, the empire that had once seemed invincible lay in ruins. We've earned our place in the stars, Tenzing said, her voice resolute. This is just the beginning? Sterling nodded. The galaxy will remember today. The Drenthak may fall, but new empires will rise. And they will know that humanity is not to be taken lightly. The stars outside the Resolute flickered as the crew began to regroup, knowing full well that their fight for freedom was far from over. But for the first time in years they felt the possibility of peace. They had turned the tide of war. They had taken their stand. And the future, no matter how uncertain, was theirs to shape. As Tenzing looked out at the debris of the endless dominion, she couldn't help but feel a spark of hope deep within her. It was the strength of the human spirit that had saved them. The will to fight, to survive, and to rise from the ashes. Humanity, once thought weak and insignificant, had proven to the galaxy that it could defy even the most insurmountable odds, and win. And with that, the small blue planet had not only survived, it had become a symbol. A symbol of defiance. A symbol of unity. A symbol of hope. And this was only the beginning.